What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Blade Dive. I'm excited to have you tuned in, and I'm excited as always to be in the virtual booth with you. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. We have summer kind of rolling out. It's on the way out. We got fall rolling in, and that means winter is definitely on its way in the Northern Hemisphere. So excited about that for sure. This podcast is presented by Prenoth. They are the sponsor for the podcast. I'm excited to have them on board. Loon Mountain is the sponsor for episode 31. Super stoked to have Loon on board sponsoring this episode. I actually have a note from Loon. I tell you what, just stay with me. I'm going to call this person. I'm going to put him on the spot. This will be fun.
Parker.
Jared, hey, I just want to say thank you really quick for taking the time to let me put you on the spot about all things that are job opportunities within the terrain park at Loon Mountain.
Yeah, Parker, certainly appreciate it, man. And I appreciate everything you're doing with the podcast. Honestly, it's cool to hear all the stories and all the characters working at the resorts and just sharing knowledge with one another. It's great.
For everybody listening, Jared Manassian is the terrain park manager at Loon. He has definitely been around some incredible names in the industry and is well-versed in all things park world related. But you're hiring for terrain park positions within the department at Loon. What are you hiring for, man? Tell us. Tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, Parker, thank you for having me on the show. I'm super grateful that you gave us this opportunity. Specifically, we're looking for a full-time terrain park operator that can go out there and help us get things done. Groom maintain the parks, help with the builds, and just, jump right in and be a part of the team.
Maybe what can you tell us about the job, and in your opinion, how does the successful candidate grow at Loon?
We definitely focus a lot on the handwork in the parks, making the operators' lives a little bit easier, doing a full 360 rake on all the rail features every night. But yeah, in terms of the Snowcat operator, we're looking for someone with some experience to come in, be a part of the team. We're really trying to settle into a full-time operator that, wants to stick around Loon for multiple seasons and really be a part of the team and help Loon as a resort get to the next level.
Here's an interesting question for you. You and I were talking offline about this, but when somebody's actually looking for a job, is it of interest or best interest of them or to you to seek out and inquire directly with the hiring manager? And maybe they've already filled out the application first, which I would highly recommend. What are your thoughts there?
I recommend to anyone, do whatever you need to do to get noticed and get hired. If you're passionate and you want it, go out and get it. You got to apply either way. So just get the application out of the way first and then do what you need to do to get yourself noticed. Because if you want to be a part of the team that bad, we want you to be a part of the team. We want someone that eats, sleeps, and breathes terrain parks.
So everybody go ahead and start blowing up Jared's email. He'll greatly appreciate it. But I was going to ask too, the surrounding area, White Mountains, correct?
Yes, correct. White Mountain National Forest.
And so 2 questions from that would be, how's kind of the commute based on where you could potentially be living? And then do you offer employee housing?
Yeah, so I'll start with, we do offer employee housing. If you're in a pinch and you need a spot, we've got a spot for you. I know I spent a couple years in Lincoln. Eric Partlow, our lead operator, he lives right in Lincoln. Woodstock actually, but Linwood is what they call the area, Lincoln and Woodstock combined. But I found my way up to Loon, or really into New Hampshire, down at Plymouth State University is where I started and started working at the resort while I was in school. And it's a real easy commute from that area. So Plymouth all the way down even into the Lakes region. I live down off exit 24 in Ashland, and it's only a half hour on the highway. Interstate I-93. They do a great job maintaining the road, so driving, you won't have to worry too much. They got the plow trucks out, keeping it clean. You'll get home safe after your shift. But yeah, we're located directly off the highway, about 5 miles off the interstate. We advertise ourselves as being the most accessible resort in New Hampshire. So
what's it like to work for you as a boss? And I'm really going there because I'd like to know what you have for leadership attributes that you feel separate you and Loon from other operator opportunities.
I feel like one of my best attributes as a leader, is taking the team and just showing them all that they're valued as a team member. And when we're out there doing our builds, even as big as Super Park or Last Call or even just the beginner park build, it's a team input, and everyone on the team gets a say in what we're building and the product we're putting out. And, we want feedback from the team as well. We want them to go out and ride it, tell us what needs to be fixed, what works, what doesn't. We want some fresh minds coming in and come up with new ways to build the parks and new ways to, make our product the best it can possibly be.
Jared, so at Loon, I want to know too, how are you improving upon the already in place operator training to better the experience for the employee as well as engage them?
Yeah, so we're definitely always invested in training and improving our employees' skill sets and constantly learning. But we're working with Piston Bully and their Pro Academy. We get all of our employees situated on there, get them set up. They go through the training, and then it's get out in the field and do the work. We've got quite a few master builders around the resort with Norton and Scambio, and Eric Partlow is the backbone of our team. He's our lead operator, and he's just a master who's always out there learning, and he's got no problem going out there and sharing his knowledge and skill set and just helping the team grow as a whole and just improving the product on a daily basis. So any operator can hop in, join the team, and as long as you're willing to learn, you will learn on a daily basis. But we got so many products going on at the resort that there's more growth than just like Snowcat. So you got operators of all sorts of equipment with all of the ambitious products we've got over the next 10 years. So definitely room to improve.
Eric Partlow is somebody that I want to highlight as well too. He's just as you described, master builder, knows how to get it done, has a ton of empathy, a lot of respect for the job, has been doing it for such a long time. So if you get the opportunity that Jared's got, that he's hiring for at Loon, and you get the chance to work along somebody like Eric Partlow, who's been in the game for as long as he has, around some legendary builders like Pat Melendowski, really rad opportunity there at Loon.
Yeah, I feel super fortunate to have gotten my start in a Snowcat with Eric, just teaching me the ways. Never was able to pick up any bad habits because he's right on it.
He is definitely right on it, man. Well, again, Jared, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on the Blade Dive and talk with us about what you got going on at Loon for opportunities. It does take courage to put yourself out there and talk about them, and that's why I view it's just a different platform to advertise on, because when you can eliminate the disconnect between what's written on the job description and, like we talked about earlier, go right to the source and contact the hiring manager or listen to the hiring manager, it's pretty fun. I gotta say it's fun.
Yeah, Parker, whatever I can do to help our team out here. Your fan base is definitely the crowd that we're looking to hire. We want people who are passionate about the mountains. We're driving a Snowcat, building parks. We want those people on our team. So appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk about the positions at Loon, and hope we find a candidate that joins the team, joins the family, and sticks around for years. Look forward to hearing your interview with Kyle. We'll talk soon. Bye.
And if you want to get a hold of Jared by applying for one of these jobs that are open within the terrain park department, head on over to loonmountain.com. That's loonmtn.com. I will also go ahead and place that URL in the show notes as well, so you can reference that web address URL in the show notes. Okay, my guest today is Kyle Markman, and if you don't know Kyle's definitely been around the game, for a while, starting his career in Purgatory, and then moving on to Keystone, and then landing finally at Eldora. He's contributed to major Snowboarder Mag build events like Super Park, Women's Super Park, and The Launch, amongst other industry events that center and focus on terrain park operations. Kyle is also a dad. He is a tractor trailer driver. Heavy loads are his passion there. He is a dirt bike fanatic, and any chance he can get, he's on it. So I do want to hit just a disclaimer really quick. We do discuss the topic of mental health, suicide, anxiety, and depression. So if anybody is triggered by any one of those topics, go ahead and tune out now or fast forward past that bit. I'll leave a marker so that everybody has that to reference too. All right, you know the deal. If you're at home, grab your favorite drink, kick your feet up, and if you're in the machine anywhere in the world, turn up the volume. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another episode of the Blade Dive. I'm probably going to wake up sore tomorrow after playing in what I would call like an adult Ninja Warrior jungle gym with our 6-year-old today. I will probably have some leg cramps at some point in time, but I couldn't be more excited to just sit down and talk with today's guest. Kyle Markman is with me in the virtual booth, and Kyle is definitely a marathon runner when it comes to the industry and what and how he's contributed, because he's been able to really take a step back and make decisions to be a part of some massive events, massive programs with respect to terrain parks, but he understands the bigger picture as well and the balance of what it is to be a dad, to be a human being, and participate in other things outside of the ski industry. And I'm just stoked to have him on the show because I want to pick his brain. So, Kyle, thanks for being with me, man. I appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate that intro. It was kind of humbling for me. Thanks, Parker.
Yeah, man, absolutely. You deserve nothing but the best. And I think because of that, you know the deal. We're starting this thing off with a special guest question. You cool with that?
Yeah, let's get it.
Let's run it. I've got no one other than Mr. Matt Malilly for your special guest question. Here we go. I'll play it for you now.
What's up, Blade Dive? And what's up, Kyle? Long time, buddy. So a lot of people may not know that you have a lot of tattoos. At this point, you probably got them all over your face. I was wondering if you could share maybe a tattoo that, means something to the both of us, and hoping it's still in good condition. Also, how's your eye doing, buddy? Anyway, hope you guys are good. Thanks for letting me call in. Later.
Oh, man. Well, all right, Matt, here we go. Yeah, so Matt's right. I have collected a couple of tattoos at this point, and there is one in particular that is, I guess if you want to call it special, it's special to Matt and I both. So basically what happened was I made a bet with Matt, and the bet was that Matt could not quit smoking cigarettes. He kind of went back and forth with that struggle for a while, and being the fantastic friend that I was trying to be at the time, I made a bet with him that he could not quit smoking cigarettes, and if he did, I had to tattoo myself. And not only did I have to tattoo myself, but I had to tattoo Matt's last name in a banner on a heart on my my upper thigh area. So yeah, I've got Matt. Well, not Matt. It just says Malilly in a banner, surrounding a heart. And it basically looks like a 2-year-old did the tattoo, because I'm not a tattoo artist, and I put that one on myself.
Holy shit. Well, I got to ask, was tattooing and being the tattoo artist a passion at the time, or did you have a friend that had a tattoo gun and you were interested in kind of maybe just doing it yourself rather than somebody else doing it? How did that go?
Well, let's see here. I, over the years, kind of fortunate to have made some friends that were all tattoo artists, and was hanging out in Breckenridge quite a bit back then, and there was a tattoo shop called Godspeed, and at that time I just went in there and told one of my friends what had gone down, and of course they thought it was hilarious, and immediately set up one of their machines and allowed me to do some work.
That's awesome. That's sick. Were you happy with how it turned out? I mean, I know you described it as being a 2-year-old, but the overall encompassing piece of art that you created, were you stoked on? I mean, it's there.
It's it's legible. You can tell that it was done by me, and there's some scarring, there's some blown out lines. It Yeah, I actually do like it. I think it looks fantastic. It goes really well with my other self-done blown out tattoos that are on that same leg.
I don't know if I ever really remember Malili. I don't know. I don't know if I ever remember Matt smoking cigarettes.
This was oh shoot, I mean, this was quite a I I don't know, like 12, 14, I don't know, 14 years ago, something like that when this went down. So, uh, yeah, it's been a bit.
Yeah, so he definitely wasn't when I met him, he definitely wasn't a smoker then. That's really cool. Well, props to you, Matt, for quitting smoking. I didn't have to get a tattoo. My wife pretty much pointed out that if I didn't quit smoking, we were never going to have kids, or nor allow me to have a kid with her. I was like, well, fuck, I should quit smoking. That'd be a good idea. I don't know if I would be able to tattoo myself, though. That is something that I don't know that I would be able to do. I would rather somebody do it for. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know. Maybe I could, but I don't know. I did eat a banana mayonnaise sandwich today.
Well, that's kind of weird. I think I'd rather tattoo myself than do that, but
well, Kevin Soller put me up to that one.
Oh, Kevin.
Yeah, you're like, dude, Parker, that's fucking weird. If you can do that, you should be able to probably tattoo yourself. You'd be okay.
Yeah, pretty much. But considering you got it from Kevin Sollers, I'm honestly not surprised. I've spent some time with that individual as well. He's a classic human being.
He is quite the classy individual. Fun Sandwich Friday. If anybody wants to participate, shout at us. Let us know. Dude, crazy. What was up with the eye thing he was talking about? He was asking you how your eye was. Was it just like a fucked up way of him just messing with you or what?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what he meant by that. Not without maybe saying some things that are borderline inappropriate. So I think that was just Matt's sense of humor coming out.
He definitely has a deep sense of humor too. Sometimes I could tell when he was joking, and other times I couldn't. But he's a deep thinker too. I definitely want to have him on the show at some point. So Matt, we gotta pencil you in, bud.
Yeah, I'm stoked he was willing to get involved as well. I kind of had a feeling that story was going to come up, but it's a funny one, so whatever.
Oh, he was immediately, like, I think within a couple minutes, like, oh yeah, like that dude's my little brother. I'm on board there. But there are a lot of questions I want to ask you, and there are other people that have contributed as well. So I want to dive further, and you and I took the time to, over the period of time that this show has existed, and then recently just caught up, trying to get to know you better and figure out what it was you were all about, and you get to know me a little better as well. But one of the things that you told me about you is that I had no idea that you grew up in Seal Beach, California. One of the things you mentioned about Seal Beach was the fact that it's definitely a very high class socioeconomical place if we want to go there. But Newport, Orange County, Laguna, all that jazz kind of rolls into that umbrella. But that may not have been kind of the picture of you growing up. You may have been less fortunate, more fortunate. I don't know, but to me, like the outsider looking in, it's always just you see that place kind of highlighted in Hollywood films and TV shows, and you go, wow. So I mean, I guess I'd be curious, like, what was it like growing up as Kyle Markman, Seal Beach, California? Paint that picture for us.
I grew up surfing. Primarily surfing was my main sport that I was into. But not only was I into surfing, I was pretty heavily into skateboarding and BMX as well. And it was cool. I can't really complain. I definitely feel very fortunate that I was able to grow up 3 blocks from the beach. It is kind of an interesting area. You did kind of tap into something that's very true for me. And the fact is that it was tough for my mom to support us in that area. With property taxes being so high, we were fortunate enough that she was able to purchase a home, which was huge for financial future. I had two older brothers, and we did not grow up as the wealthy kids in the neighborhood. It was quite the opposite. We were kind of the poor kids. I can it's kind of funny, but still to this day I actually won't eat baked potatoes anymore, because there was a point in my life where I think we had baked potatoes every day for dinner for, I don't know, 3-4 months straight. And I will not eat a baked potato anymore.
Baked potatoes are really good too.
But all that being said, though, I mean, I really can't complain. Like there's nothing, having the opportunity to grow up that close to the beach in Southern California, it's kind of all relative. It really depends on who you compare yourself to. Like we were poor for people in that area, because the majority of people in that area, their parents are pretty wealthy. A lot of them are lawyers, doctors, stuff like that, and kids are pretty well taken care of there. So compared to them, it may seem like I was a poor kid, but I don't know. It was still a great experience, and I can't be upset about it.
And you mentioned too, just when we were chatting offline, the fact of, because I was curious kind of where snowboarding stepped into the picture for you, be it that you're in Colorado right now. Being from California, you had mentioned that kind of the BMX thing, the BMX scene, and the BMX bike was who you were, surfing, skateboarding, doing all that. Were Bear and Mountain High a part of kind of your interest in snowboarding, or was that later on in life? How did that kind of come to fruition?
Both of those resorts did play a part in my early years of snowboarding. The snowboarding that I did do in California, I didn't really include it in my, like years of considering myself a snowboarder. It wasn't really till I moved to Colorado that I really started snowboarding a lot. But prior to that, I did actually get the opportunity to ride Mountain High and Big Bear a few times, and even a couple of resorts up in the Tahoe area, because my grandparents lived up in Woodland, California. So I did get probably, I don't know, 10, 15 times on my board prior to ever moving to Colorado.
But to be able to do that at a place like that as a kid, like that was always a dream. I was looking at that from afar with a big interest, going, holy shit, that place is really cool. That'd be amazing to have that resource.
They used to do these magazine sales, like the elementary school and the middle school and stuff would host magazine sales, and essentially you would go door to door and get people to buy magazine subscriptions. And in order, one of the rewards that you could pick from if you sold enough magazines was to get a complete setup, which was board, boots, and bindings. So in 6th grade, my first snowboard boots and bindings, I actually earned it by selling magazines.
Crazy. My first ever snowboard that I bought, I got in a car wreck when I was 17. Somebody ran a red light and T-boned me, and the insurance money that was left over from the accident is how I was able to buy a new car, and then with the change that was left over, buy a snowboard. That's how that went down for me.
Being that I had already had quite a bit of experience with board sports, I guess I was pretty okay at surfing. I was sponsored. I had won a few competitions by this point. So hopping onto a snowboard came somewhat natural for me. But the part that's kind of funny is although it came naturally, I was a little bit ballsier than I should have been. And actually, my first 2 times snowboarding, I broke my left wrist the first time and my right wrist the second time.
The typical person that would go up and snowboard for the first time and then break their wrist would just say, yeah, I'm done. I'd have to throw that out there. But you were like, no, man, this is rad. I'm going back. What's up? And then wrist number 2 breaks. Is that really how that went down?
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's kind of funny. I've been pretty fascinated with jumps my entire life. The second I got on a snowboard, I couldn't not hit a jump. It was just something I had to do. Yeah, there's a ton of truth to that story. Plenty of friends that could vouch for that one. They were witnesses.
Hey man, do you want to go snowboarding? Absolutely. I'm way more motivated now that I've got my wrist healed up that just broke. It's my left one. And then I'll be okay. Yeah, I'll be okay. And then you go up there and you break the other one. Was everybody like, oh my God, are you okay? Or were they just like, man, that guy breaks his bones all the time. What's up with that? I think you said you broke like 26, you've broken 26 bones in your life.
Yeah, I believe I'm roughly at 26.
Damn.
26 broken bones. Been hospitalized for about 10 concussions. I've had a lot of concussions that I was not hospitalized for, separated ligaments. I've run out of talent frequently.
How are you teaching yourself to get back up every time you get broke off?
I guess I just never really felt like there was an option. The way I was raised, the group of friends that I grew up with, if you hit the ground, you just got back up and brushed yourself off and kept going, even if that took 6-8 weeks to heal a bone before you can go again. It was just, I never really thought that I had to teach myself to get back up. It just was something that was happening. All my friends were getting back up, so why wouldn't I?
I was intrigued. I had to ask that question because with that many broken bones, that many injuries, and two, like where you've gone and done and been in your career, and how that's unfolded. Like you've done so much, and you've been through a lot. So I had to ask, what was it like to really pick yourself up? And that's a hell of an answer. Like sounds like it was kind of ingrained in you.
That's all you can do. You just gotta get back up. And with these types of sports, like surfing, skateboarding, dirt biking, snowboarding, like you can't really excel at any of these sports without pushing yourself a little bit. And if you push yourself hard enough, you're going to be flirting with the edge of your skill level. It doesn't even, it doesn't even mean that everything that I've done has been on like a crazy extreme level. It's just my personal level. I'm challenging myself for where I'm at that point, and you're gonna get hurt. That's the way it is.
I would say you haven't really been tapped or dubbed as like the half pipe guy or the transition dude, but a lot of the stuff that you were a part of early on when I was paying attention to what you were doing was transition and was the construction of those features. Did you see a reason or an interest, or did you take an interest in just the transition features initially right out of the gate?
Yeah, of course. There's a couple things that I have that really attracted me to this. Obviously, the heavy surf skate background, transitions, that's everywhere in Southern California skate parks. So bringing that background to the snow is something that I've always really enjoyed. But the other thing about half pipes specifically and quarter pipes specifically, things that are built with Zauggs, and you can do some pretty cool stuff with blade trannies as well, obviously. But at the same time, like those types of features, like you can take a picture of one of these features and show it to somebody who's from a state like Florida where they don't have any skiing, and you can show it to them and they'll be able to look at it and it looks cool, it looks clean, they can tell you that it looks good, or they can even see little issues. Like they'll be like, well, what's with that little curb at the bottom of your transition, or whatever it may be. So I think that if you're going to compare like a picture of a well-built half pipe to say like a down rail or a down flat down rail or a flat box or whatever type of rail you're talking about, like the rail's not going to look cool to somebody who's never experienced snowboarding, whereas you show them a picture of a perfectly built half pipe and it's going to look really cool.
That's a really good point.
The other side, the other answer I have for that too is that for me personally, I realized very, very early on that people didn't have an interest in operating the Zaugg. Everybody wanted to be a jump builder. Uh, that was like the thing. People wanted to be a jump builder, or they wanted to build really cool rail parks, and nobody wanted to touch the Zaugg. So I figured it out that I wanted to touch it and use it and learn how to have some fun with it. And I wanted to set myself apart from other operators in the ability to operate the Zaugg. And it's kind of funny, but yeah, I think most people probably don't even know that I actually know how to turn those things on.
That was the thing that I noticed early on, especially while you were at Keystone. I think you're right. I think that it's not typically of interest for somebody to gravitate towards the Zaugg. I didn't.
Prior to Keystone, I spent 4 seasons down at Purgatory, and down there actually we had an HPG, and
Oh wow, was it paddle?
yeah, 2 chains and little 3-inch paddles with serrated edges on them. And I was fortunate enough that right when I first moved there, I got on park crew immediately, and I got to do some riding along with the guys that were at Purgatory at the time operating that HPG. I actually never operated it myself, but I was there. I did get to sit in the passenger seat. I saw it happen, and I was interested in it from the very first time I really saw it, and it thought it was cool. And still to this day, I actually think zogging's cool. And anybody that is willing to put in the time to get to a point where you think operating a Zaugg is fun, I have a lot of respect for that person.
Well, I'm gonna back up here. You mentioned Purgatory. How did you wind up in Colorado? And because you were kind of growing up in that realm of, well, you're not necessarily the kid growing up with money. Were you then the kid growing up that was a little bit of like you were raising a bunch of hell? Like, I'm just curious, gotta know.
Oh man, well, yeah. So Southern California, North Orange County, it was still a little bit rugged, and there I had a lot of friends that were not necessarily walking the best path, and I hung out with those people quite a bit. I mean, it was cool. There was the SB punks, and then I had a handful of friends that got into some areas that were not as cool in terms of like white power gangs and stuff like that. And fortunately, I avoided that. But I got involved with drugs and alcohol at an extremely young age. I actually don't even really want to say how old I was when I started fucking off, because it's slightly embarrassing. But at the same time, um, I didn't want to graduate from high school. And at this point, backing up for just a quick second, at this point, I was already considering myself as a builder. I built skate ramps in my backyard. I hand dug a lot of dirt jumps for BMXing, and I was the kid down at the beach who I built snowboard jumps and dirt bike jumps out of sand instead of building sandcastles. So that, I already had that interest in me. And at this point, I already knew we had owned our house in Seal Beach for a while. So even though, we kind of struggled, I knew that if we sold our house in Seal Beach, we would be able to move to Colorado. And, all of a sudden we kind of had money compared to what we had in Seal Beach. So I really wanted to be able to build motocross jumps on my property. And my mom and I went back and forth with that idea for a couple months. And next thing you know, we put our house up for sale in Seal Beach. And she had told me about an area in Colorado she was interested in. And I didn't really know anything about Colorado. So I just kind of went along for the ride. And the day after my 16th birthday, I moved to Durango.
Damn. Do you feel like, and I imagine it probably did, but do you feel like that definitely shaped you? You wanted to continue somewhere, and whether or not you were excited to continue in Colorado is maybe 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. I don't know. Were you stoked on that?
I don't mean for it to sound like it was terrible, because it really wasn't. It was, and looking back at it, it was awesome, and I'm very thankful for the things that I went through. But my home life wasn't necessarily great because I had a stepdad in my life that was I don't know how to say this nicely. He was an asshole, and I was miserable in Seal Beach. There was a lot of fights at home between my mom, my brothers, me, my stepdad, and I just kind of was just thinking that if we picked up and moved, if we tried something different, that things would get better and things would change. And in many ways, things did get a lot better for us. We went from having a mortgage on a house that we could barely afford in Seal Beach to being able to pay cash for a house in Durango, which also I feel super lucky. But I was also able to my mom purchased a used Bobcat skid steer, and I was able to actually start building motocross jumps with that right when I was 16, and that was awesome. But to tell you the truth, it all kind of backfired and unraveled anyways, because my stepdad was an asshole, and he crushed that dream. I never actually completed building my motocross track, and that's when I really focused heavily on snowboarding and really pursuing snowcats instead, because I could do that on my own. I didn't need my parents' help for that.
Well, here's definitely a deep one. I'm gonna audible here because I don't like the word pivot, but I'm gonna audible here and say, based on that, you've got your dream that you'd like to see accomplished, and then you've got somebody else kind of doing what they want to do to potentially derail it. It's all up for interpretation, but the worst and best trends of the snow industry currently, what do you think about those?
For me, I think most people probably disagree with me, and that's fine. But for me, the worst and best trend actually run hand in hand. And as park builders, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot a while ago when we were just building everything as big as we could. We were not really building for the general public. We were building for either ourselves or professional athletes, and we were trying to push the sport. And so what I think one of the best trends that we're doing now is that we are focusing on the general public, and we're building terrain parks so that moms and dads and kids and families, everybody can go in there and enjoy it. But to me, that's also creating the absolute worst trend in snowboarding for me. I feel that by focusing so hard on progression and so hard on families, that we're now kind of regressing, at least in America. I feel like American terrain parks, we're regressing. You build a 40-foot jump nowadays and people are calling it extra large. So that to me is it's a sad state to watch happen. And not even just with jumps, but like looking at Breckenridge and Keystone, for example, they've gotten rid of their large terrain parks. There's no more freeway. There's no more 22-foot half pipe. There's no 18-foot half pipe. And you look at Keystone, and I didn't actually get to see it in person, but last I heard, there's like ski school terrain running through what used to be one of the coolest rail parks in the Summit County area. And I just think it's sad to watch our sport regress the way it is.
I think that focusing on progression is important because of what you just mentioned earlier with respect to parks back in the day, shooting ourselves in the foot, building all this big stuff. We weren't really able to set ourselves up for the future and the next generation and the longevity of people maybe having an interest in coming to be a part of snowboarding, skiing is where we were at. As much of an issue that we've got to cater so much to progression that we're inevitably attracting people by catering and marketing towards out-of-state families. And then what we're doing essentially is exposing them to what's available for pricing and then inevitably helping them realize they can buy like a second and third home here. Does that make sense? Are they all linked together?
I think in many ways, yes, they are all linked together. I especially now that I have a 6-year-old son, so I do want to provide a product that a little kid can play on. And I do enjoy watching people progress, but I think we're getting a little over the top with this shit because I mean, at the end of the day, you got to remember, like, it's skiing and snowboarding. This sport is dangerous. People are going to get hurt. And like last season, I built and not even just last season, for like the past 5 seasons, I've been building every size jump, like a 1-foot jump, 2-foot jump, 3-foot jump, all the way up to 5, 10, 15, 20. And it's like, it's a little over the top, this focus of progression and trying to put a number on it. Like, just, it just feels like terrain parks are becoming ski school. And that's just kind of a sad thing to watch happen from my point of view. But along the lines of what you're talking about, with not my opinion aside from it, yeah, we're focusing on the tourist. We're focusing on the out of towner. The ski industry, it's pretty well known that we don't have retention, not only from employees, but from first-time skiers. The majority of first-time skiers don't come back. And we're focusing really, really hard on first-time skiers, and especially using Summit County, for example. And unfortunately, it's really Vail Resorts. When you look at Keystone and Breckenridge, they're just completely not caring about locals. You know, the product that locals enjoy, they've gotten rid of it, and they don't care because locals to them are not, you know, they're not making money off of locals. Locals pack their own lunch. Locals buy season passes, and they just don't really care about the local.
I want to keep on that topic, but I do want to jump towards our next special guest question, and it's from Chris Jones. It was really cool to just catch up with him for a minute, pick his brain, and have him weigh in on your episode, man. So I'm excited for you to listen to the question. I'll go ahead and play it for you now.
Yo, Parker, Kyle. Hope all is well with you guys. Got a couple questions here for Kyle. Number 1, what's it like building pipe on the dirt work at Eldora, and how does your playlist evolve through that build? Number 2, what are you most grateful for in your career, and what do you wish never happened? Either way, hope to see you guys soon. Peace.
Oh man. Well, let's start with probably the humorous side of the question in terms of playlist. Chris knows me well enough. I don't always listen to music that would technically be cool, especially not for a park employee who's covered in tattoos. And sometimes I find myself like, at the beginning of the build, you're excited. you're just breaking into it. And typically I'll find myself putting on some NoFX. That's a pretty much a go-to for me, as well as Tiger Army and some other bands very similar to that. But sometimes, if you're passionate about something and what you're working on doesn't always go the way you want it to, sometimes your playlist has to evolve with that. And I'll be honest, I will throw on I like female singers. And if I have to, I'll throw on some Carrie Underwood, I'll I'll mix it up. I'll listen to some ladies, and I'll even find myself listening to some emo music. I've had plenty of coworkers walk up to my machine and they just kind of look at me like, yeah, you're really listening to that crap. And yeah, just kind of anything to just bring your mind back to what you're there for. And for me personally, I when I'm building, I'm there for fun. It's slightly selfish. It doesn't really have to be an extra large feature. It could be even just the baby park. It doesn't matter what I'm building necessarily. I enjoy building.
Does it? I thought you were gonna throw out like Dashboard Confessional, My Chemical Romance, Used. Like I thought you were gonna drop some names there for the emo bands.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. When it comes to the emo bands, yeah, Taking Back Sunday, Finch, Thursday. I mean, the other part to Chris's question is, what is it like to build on the dirt work at Eldora? And most people don't know this, but actually the dirt work at Eldora and half pipes at Eldora is actually slightly historical. And there was a farmer who developed, I believe it was the actual HPG, and he developed that, and he was down in the Front Range of Colorado, somewhere around like Boulder area or something like that is what I remember being told. But one of the first half pipes, if not the first half pipe ever built in Colorado, was actually built at Eldora. And I don't really want to give up my secrets entirely, but at the same time, they kind of know what I'm doing. And what I do is I strip the surrounding ski trails and I steal snow from everywhere and I push snow into the parks. And the half pipe build in particular, like I strip, and excuse me, it's obviously not just me. We as a team, we have multiple people, and we strip the trails surrounding us and we push all the snow to the bottom of the half pipe and we push all the snow up the half pipe. So to this date, we still have never had the right amount of snow that it takes. And it's hard. It's hard when you're working with a project and you're starting from the bottom and you don't have enough. And it takes a while to get the snow up there, makes the entire project take longer. And you can run into some frustrations. And I had a lot of that happening. It's a challenging build.
Well, what about some of the, like Chris had another great question too, either some of the best moments in your careers or some of the things you either want to forget or wish never happened?
I guess in terms of like the best part of my careers would probably just be the friendships and the people and the opportunities that I've had. I've had a very fortunate career, and I feel lucky for some of the opportunities that were given to me over the years. With in terms of things like I've done multiple super parks, I've done multiple launches, missed super parks. I've just been lucky to get to work on cool projects with really cool people, and I've made some lifelong friends out of that. And that I think that is hands down the best thing that I've gotten out of it is the friendships.
Is there anything that you don't, or that you wish maybe it never had happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I would have never been in a supervisor role at Vail Resorts.
Mm.
The reason the reason for that is in terms of like write-ups and coaching sessions, and you know the things that I did while being a supervisor, writing people up and coming down on somebody, that's just not me. It wasn't me. And the last few years that I spent working at Keystone, I was really unhappy every time I had to take on that type of position. And I know that there's a lot of people that during that time frame, I know there's a lot of people that did not like me, and I felt like I was doing my job. And I wish that never happened. And as soon as I moved on from Keystone, I immediately became a lot happier. And ironically enough, I actually became a manager after leaving Keystone. And in my management position, I didn't write people up. I didn't do coaching sessions. I felt lucky that when I became a manager, I was not a manager at Vail Resorts, and I no longer had to play that role.
Well, so back up there, you became a manager when you left Vail Resorts. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
I gained a lot from Vail Resorts. The opportunities that were provided to me because of working where I was at that time were amazing, and I'll forever hold a spot, in my heart for Keystone and Vail Resorts in general. But I didn't like the role that I was in. It made me unhappy. I did not like, I just didn't like it. I did not like being, it was kind of sad, there were people that were fired from Keystone. There were people that didn't want to come back to Keystone. And it was due to our structure and kind of just flat out being mean to people and uh, fucking with people's livelihoods by doing write-ups. And I didn't enjoy it, and I kind of wish that I would have never been in that position. But at the other side of it, if you want to get paid more, you kind of have to take on roles like that in order to gain pay raises.
One thing we've discussed is kind of the constraints of sustainability, but being alone in the machine to either deal with it or separate from it just for a minute to find some peace. That was a really cool topic that you and I hit on, and I want your help kind of unwrapping that, and with maybe what your experience with either depression or anxiety has been like for you, if at all, and how you've maybe used the opportunity in the machine to help with that.
Yeah, mental health, it's a tough one, especially for me personally. I don't know if it's from all the concussions I have. I don't know if it's necessarily from the drug abuse that I did when I was a younger kid. And I maybe it's a combination of everything, all the injuries. I don't know, but I suffer from depression and anxiety a lot, like pretty bad, to the point where sometimes I'll actually break out in hives and have to take medicine to calm myself down and to make stuff go away. I get super depressed. I have pretty strong feelings towards suicide, so struggling with my depression and having suicidal thoughts on a regular basis is tough. I frequently find myself driving down the road, and you'll see the edge and you get those thoughts where you just kind of want to yank the wheel and drive off of it. And those feelings, that it's hard. It's hard to deal with that type of shit. And a lot of people don't really understand what it's like to feel like that. And it's even the tougher part too is that, like, you know, like from an outsider's perspective, it's like you've got a sweet truck, you've got dirt bikes, you've got all this shit, you're operating this cool machine, building these sweet features. Like, people think that, you know, your life from an outsider's perspective is awesome, but you personally hate yourself and hate your life. And it's a you know, it becomes a struggle sometimes. And the machine the machine personally helps me with that. I guess in many ways I'm kind of a loner. I like to be alone. I guess I'm also kind of a nerd. I nerd out and get geeky when it comes to snowcats. I'm building features, and it helps me sometimes just to put on some music and just move snow around. Sometimes I'll even disappear. I'll leave the terrain park. I'll go over to a ski trail and I'll cut a windrow from one side of the trail to the other side, top to bottom. I'll just work the snow and kind of try and turn myself off and not think about the things that are making me feel depressed.
I feel like often we have sometimes these expectations of ourselves, that of those of us that work in the ski industry, that we should be this just put together package that somebody can open up at any point in time that they need us to be able to provide a skill set or a point of view or a matter of fact or whatever it is. And in this industry of cool, that if you were to strip away everything, and I've said this before, if you were to strip away everything, you take away the machines, you take away the lifts, you take away the fancy marketing, you take away everything that's out there that is an amenity. And I think sometimes the best way that we can connect with people is to just say, hey, how are you? How are you doing? How are you doing? What's life like for you right now? What's going on? And if somebody wants to share, cool. If they don't, fine. That's fine too. But I think the best way to create an experience for anybody is just to create a genuine conversation. And whatever comes from it, comes from it. And beyond that, it's just two people standing in the parking lot trying to figure out how to go uphill and then go down on their snowboard. Does that make sense? Like, that's it in its simplistic form as I could try to describe it.
Yeah, it does make sense. And that's why, I'm pretty comfortable in my skin. I have some really good friends, and the feelings I have towards suicide, like probably one of the main ways that I can avoid actually ever doing that is by admitting that you have an issue and being able to talk to your friends about it, because suicide hurts people. You leave a path of crap behind you, and children, husbands, wives, family members, friends, like, they have to deal with that. I never want to be a person that ever pulls the trigger, and I would rather tell people that I feel like somebody's sitting on my chest, or that my throat feels like it's swollen shut because of my anxiety. And I'd rather just talk about it with my friends and family, and apparently with the podcast.
And it's interesting. I had it put to me, how do I view accountability? How do you hold somebody accountable? And I think that accountability for a lot of people is very much, I don't know, like, everybody has a different way, and I'll respect that. But I think if you were to create one synonym or analogy for accountability, it would be vulnerability. And vulnerability is super hard to talk about. It's super hard to do, especially in this industry where the dude and the gal and the person that drives the Snowcat, operates the Snowcat, is supposed to be this hardcore put together package where they can go out and build anything, and they've got everything all put together at home and packaged up and ready to go.
I mean, to tell you the truth, being being vulnerable is, it's helped me out a lot, and having the ability to, you know, open up is important to me, because, you know, when you take it even to a management position, you know, like, people are always looking at you to be like, or not always, but frequently people look at your manager as, you know, you want them to be this rock, this person that's, you know, can have all the answers, and you don't necessarily have to have all the answers. And being vulnerable helps you just be on the same level as your employees, your coworkers. I don't even necessarily view them as employees. I more view them as coworkers. And quite often, you know, if somebody's having a difficult time, there's a good possibility they're actually having a difficult time outside of work. And being able to expose yourself to your coworkers, it allows some walls to come down, and you can even help them talk through some scenarios that are hard for them as well. And in the long run, you wind up creating better relationships with those people, and having the ability to have a better relationship with those people makes it so that you can also have a better working relationship too.
Dude, I mean, deep thoughts from Kyle Markman right there. I'll even take it here. I'll go, to me, like, the word cool is, you're kind of siloizing yourself there. Like, if you, and this is just my take on it, but to me, being cool is hard work, and it's quite lonely. And there's a lot of pressure there, and there's a lot of expectation, and there's a lot of, I think, unnecessary energy spent towards trying to be somebody that you're not. And that's exactly what this industry is a lot of the times. And I just have to sit back and that's why I love calling people like TJ Dawood and just going, yo, man, what up? How you doing? You know, what it do? How you doing? And cause I care, I give a shit. Like, there are people that have other perspectives on so many other people, but, you know, I love calling Kevin Soller and just saying, yo, Kevin, what's going on with the banana mayonnaise sandwich? You know, and like, I love doing that shit too. Like, I love eating banana mayonnaise sandwiches with Kevin. Like, mine was toasted. His was 4 hours in a lunchbox in a machine.
Yeah, that's so gross.
But I think it took it, you know, there's a connection there. And I think that in order to be a bit vulnerable, we've got to open up to the people that are everybody in this industry. You know, set aside the beef. Don't judge one another. Come together as a community. Be honest with each other and be real. Reach out to the people that maybe you didn't think you need to reach out to, or that you maybe didn't even want to communicate with. But I think it's important that we do that as a community. And we're just, I mean, I'm sure that some people are, for sure, but I'm an open book. And if anybody wants to ever chat or talk, I'm down. And I think that's why people often send me messages and they're like, holy cow, can't believe that you talked to that person. And it's, well, the fact that you're sending me that message is why I'm talking to that person, because that's not how this world needs to function. I'm willing to talk to anybody, and that's how it needs to be. That's the problem with the industry. It's the problem with the world, dude. And being vulnerable is cool, and being cool is awkwardly lonely. I mean, that's just where I'm at with it. So, yeah, hats off to you, man, for being able to be you.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. You're the shit, Kyle. You are the shit. And I'm stoked we're chatting right now, bro. Speaking of builds and people and learning from people, being around or exposed, taught, Joel Bowman submitted a really cool question, and I'm going to make it a special guest question because it was he submitted it. We had already gotten who we had gotten for special guests, but I'm going to go there with Joel just because I really think you'll like it. But Joel says, I got to learn under Kyle for a lot of my early days at Keystone. He is such a rad guy. My question for Kyle has to do with Snowcats. We built A51 for many years with stock BR 350s. No extended push frames, tillers, or any park geometry at all! Exclamation point. I know park cats are awesome and definitely useful for progressing terrain parks, but how much would you say you benefited from building a park of that stature from basic Snowcat geometry? I definitely know it made me the operator I am today. Just curious. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. Cheers.
That's a cool question. And yeah, it's I really do think it'll actually make you a way better operator if you can turn out a product with a trail machine that is comparable to a product that somebody's turning out with a park machine, and you can consistently do that. I think it will make you a better operator, because they're harder machines to operate, in the sense of building those types of transitions or those shapes. It's way more difficult to do that with a BR 350 than it is the modern, for example, Piston Bully Park Pro. Like it's really easy to make shapes with a Park Pro compared to a 350.
That's my favorite cat. That 350, the 275 Terrain Master. I'm sure Ruben will probably hate me for saying this, but I love that cat. That first generation X that we had at June, that was Dom Edwards and I had shout out to Dom Edwards. But yeah, we definitely had like the go around and it was good. I thoroughly loved working with him, but he and I were like, damn it, I don't get to drive the 350 tonight, or like, fuck, Parker's driving that cat tonight, or damn it, Dom's driving that. Yeah, like that cat was brand new and it was sick, and I love that machine. That thing could fucking move some snow for sure.
It's kind of funny, but after leaving Keystone, working at Keystone, you had a ridiculous amount of Snowcats to work with. If something broke, you could go park a machine and go get a new one. And to tell you the truth, at this point, I just really want a machine that works.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, I'll operate anything. It really doesn't matter. I don't care what it is, but in my most recent years, I've spent so much time in a Park Pro that I still believe that I'm actually getting better at operating my machine, because of the machine that I'm operating is so capable. Like the pitch of landings that you can build with those Park Pros is, I don't know, it's stuff that people think you need a winch for, and you don't need a winch for it. So I don't know. I'm still learning. If I get back in a machine next season, it'll be 19 seasons of building terrain parks, and I'm still learning.
Yeah, and that's huge of you to say that as well. I want to dabble and talk about the other stuff you've been a part of too. Semi trucks, tractor trailers. Definitely seem to be a passion job for you as well, and I want you to talk about that. But selfishly, for anybody that's not following Kyle on social media, he's got some pretty good photos of the rigs that he's run and the shit that he's been towing behind it too, which is dope. And so last year during COVID, I'm the one Probably the only one sitting there going, where in the hell are the pictures of the trucks? Like, stop posting pictures of whatever you're doing. Like, what happened to the truck? Because for a while there, it was like truck. And I was like, this is dope. Like, yes, post more of this stuff.
Yeah, to answer your question about like the passion that I have for trucks, it's there. I never really I thought trucks were all that cool. It was kind of more of a fallback plan for me to be able to supplement income during the summertime. But in the most recent years, I really did start to enjoy some of the stuff I was able to do, because I got into heavy haul, and heavy haul to me is actually really cool. If other people don't think it's cool, I could care less, because I think it's cool. There's something about being oversized, working with pilot cars. I haven't done anything really all that big, honestly, not in the world of oversized at least. But I'm kind of proud to say that I've been 16 wide, and I've also been lucky enough to haul some pretty decent sized excavators. And I was technically actually overweight for the truck that I had, because the truck that I had between my truck and trailer, and my trailer had a trailer, I had 8 axles, and I was probably somewhere grossed out around 190,000 pounds, and I was overweight for my truck. But I don't know, it's kind of cool being that heavy. Your average tractor trailer that you see delivering groceries is roughly around 75 to 80,000 pounds. So when you're double that weight and you're wider than 8.5 feet, and I don't know, I just enjoy it. It's fun.
Well, Tyrone was talking about it a little bit too, with the stuff that he tows for Burning Man. Just doing crazy routes, pulling doubles and big sleeper cabs and things of that. Are you a sleeper cab guy, or are you not?
For functionality, of course, yeah. You got to have a sleeper, just because you frequently find yourself in trucking scenarios where you need to be able to sleep. But in terms of like the style of trucks, I love a heavy haul truck that's just a day cab. I think they look rad.
Here's something too, like the software, anything for either tracking or utilizing your hours so that you're compliant with whatever state you were in, whether it was CDOT or anybody else if you were out of state. When you were on duty or off duty, what's that like, reporting that kind of stuff? Or is that something that you have to dabble in at all?
Well,
it's a touchy subject too, by the way. People hate the fact that exists, but either way.
I miss the outlaw days. I got my CDL when I was 19. So that was, I think back in 2006 is when I got my CDL, which I guess that's not really that long, but at the same time, this was before computer logbooks. This was before ELDs, and the outlaw days were cool. Like you'd go, at one point, my dad and I actually started a one truck trucking company, and we were doing runs from Southern California up to Washington and back. And the outlaw days were cool. You'd start your run with one logbook, and then halfway through it, tear up that logbook and rewrite your hours down on a new logbook and keep driving. And I thought that to me was I enjoyed it. I don't know. I guess rebelling against the system was cool to me, and doing stupid shit, like driving for 24 hours, because when we were just in a tractor trailer, a normal one, not oversized, so you were usually around 78,000 pounds. So even at that weight, driving from Washington straight through to Southern California, like that's a long pull. for a drive, and I'd have to tear up about 3 different logbooks in order to make it appear that I was always running legally, even though I was completely illegal. And I enjoyed that. Outlaw Outlaw shit's cool, dude. Smokey and the Bandit. That shit was awesome.
Smokey and the Bandit. Hell yeah, it was. It's funny. Like
Fucking
people at
eastbound and down. Let's fucking smuggle. Let's fucking bootleg some booze.
Oh damn. It's funny. Like our dogs' names are Duke and Bo, and every time that we go for a walk, and if you're from the South, like Bo and Luke Duke of the Dukes of Hazzard, people sometimes they're like, oh damn, like Bo and Duke, Bo Duke, what? they start just talking about the Dukes of Hazzard. It's super cool. I'm definitely it's not the best connection ever, but sometimes people make the connection. If I say Bo's name first, it's cool. Like I appreciate it for sure. They're like, oh man, the Dukes of Hazzard, what? Like, yeah, totally, Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, right on.
Yeah, I totally dig it, man. I think it's hilarious. And even though I'm from Southern California, I guess I got a little bit of country in me.
Hey, let's go ahead and get into the push road questions of the day. We've got a bunch of people that have contributed, so I'll go ahead and play the intro.
The push road question of the day.
That is right, the push road question of the day, and we're going to switch things up here. People got a little concerned that they were missing the story on Instagram, and they were. So we're going to post it twice. We're going to go either on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, and then we're going to do the day that we record. So that's 2 days during the week. Look for it during the middle of the week. You won't miss it. I promise. It'll be there. We'll make it happen. If your message doesn't fit within the box, send us a DM. All right, Kyle, your first push road question is from Mr. Timmy Hay. And Mr. Timothy Hay goes deep here. He wants to know, how do you deal with blowing it on a project and then regrouping and pulling it off in the fourth quarter?
Well, sometimes you got to dig deep for it. It's not always easy, and I blow it a lot, and I'm my own worst enemy. In fact, I get really, really lucky in a machine a lot of the times. I feel fortunate that people enjoy my product, but recovering from blowing it, and that's hard. I don't really have a good answer other than, maybe taking that moment to get out of your machine and walk around, take a deep breath. If you're a smoker, smoke a cigarette, because smoking outside of your machine is way better than smoking in them, and just go for it.
Yeah, keep it simple. I think that's good advice, man, for sure. Kevin Soller has chimed in. He wants to know, does baby powder really help truckers with swamp ass?
I honestly, I never used baby powder with the swamp ass scenario. Maybe I'm fortunate. I'm not as sweaty as you, Kevin.
That's a good point. Kevin, I have a follow-up question. Do gingers sweat more in the ass? Just asking.
More than likely coming from Kevin, yes. Yes, they do.
Do daywalkers? I'll go daywalkers. Do daywalkers? Yeah. Let's see. This is a good one. Ryan Bezemek wants to know, what are the keys to building on side hill or double fall lines or / shitty zones?
Oh, that's actually my favorite, to tell you the truth. I really, really like playing natural terrain, and having a zone that is difficult to build on due to the fact that you're fighting fall lines is cool. And what I would have to say is try try not to fight the fall line, try to work with the fall line. And sometimes fall lines will expose really opportunities. The most people probably don't realize this, but the bottom of Keystone is a terrible place to build. And one of my favorite features that I still to this day can't believe we got it open to the public. It was due to building the landing up on the hill and then building the takeoff down out of a hole. And it was a step up jump where skiers and snowboarders were transferring up over a vertical wall. And yeah, I love fall lines. I think it's awesome.
Chris Meyer has chimed in, Jib Master Chris, and he wants to know if you could assemble a team of builders, anybody, who would they be? 4 of them.
Just being selfish and wanting the build to be really fun, I'm gonna pick people that I just like to hang out with, because it doesn't really matter if somebody's super talented in a machine or not. It's all about the process and the enjoyment you have. So I'm gonna go with people that I really enjoy hanging out with, and I'd have to say Derek Reisbach, Lane Knack, Tim Hay, and Chris Jones.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. Fair question, tough question. All around, though, I think my list would look different to yours, and I think that somebody else's list would look different to both of ours. So, yeah, I think it would ebb and flow. All right, I got a deep one for you. It's a bit of a story. You can go into much detail as you want to, but Mr. Elliot Cohn has chimed in, and he asks, Markman, tell us about your last night at Peace Park 2 years back.
Fuck. All right, well, not only do I have some mental health issues, I've had some physical health issues as well. And, call it genetics, blame it on poor diet, whatever it may be, blame it on breaking a bunch of bones and having many opiates pass through my system. There's some humor to this situation. And the part that, Elliot's getting at here that is kind of funny is that basically what happened was I got heavily intoxicated, and I wound up making a mess in the bedroom that I was sleeping in. And basically what happened was I shit the bed. But that particular event was actually pretty much the start of one of the most painful times in my life. And that whole 2-week build was absolute misery for me. So most people don't like to talk about this, but between truck driving and operating snowcats, it's actually relatively common for people to develop hemorrhoid issues. And what happened during that time frame, I had my hemorrhoid hemorrhoids are actually a group. So there were multiple hemorrhoids, but basically what happened is one of them actually ruptured and became a anal fissure. And if you don't know what that is, it's pretty foul and disgusting. But basically what happens is your insides are cut open, and it pretty much feels like somebody's taking a scalding hot razor blade and cutting the inside of your asshole open. And what happened was, after dealing with that for 2 weeks straight during this build and maintenance, we went out drinking, and I guess I couldn't control myself, and I woke up in the middle of the night being in a puddle of blood and fecal matter.
Damn. Dude, that's heavy. We're deep blade diving tonight with push road questions. I will say, like, on a serious subject matter note, how do you prevent something like that from happening? That's where I'm at. Like, is it a donut that you sit on? Is it a healthy diet situation? What is it?
So after leaving Peace Park, I flew home. I went straight to a doctor, and it was pretty much explained to me that it was majority of it was based off of poor diet more than anything. A lot of it is genetics. Every single human being is actually born with, we all have hemorrhoids, whether they get inflamed or not, or become ruptured. A lot of that is due to very, very poor diet. And that whole scenario led to me getting a surgery. And I spent about 4 weeks upside down, elevating the lower part of my body, because I was in so much pain after dealing with that surgery. It was pretty much the most pain I'd ever been in for about 6 weeks straight.
Oh, here's another question too. What is a correct type of diet to avoid something like that? Is it roughage, like vegetables, lettuce, broccoli, shit that most people don't want to eat these days, but I'm sure there are a lot of people that do lead healthy lifestyles that operate machines. But by the way, this is way tangent right now. Sorry, Carol. Tyler Benton is a fucking chef. I remember like 2 years ago, he would bring in like casseroles, salads that look like he bought from the restaurant that he dumped into the bowl, and he claimed that he made them. It was amazing. Like, he is, in my mind, the best eater of any snowcat operator I have ever witnessed. But back to the subject matter. What does a good diet look like? What did the doctor say?
I was recommended to, like high fiber kind of stuff, but I am the furthest thing from a nutritionist. And unfortunately, I still have not actually necessarily corrected my diet fully. And it's to answer that question better, you'd have to go with somebody who's a little more educated on the subject matter than me.
I'll go with broccoli.
I'd like to take this moment to formally apologize to all of you people listening. I'm sorry. That story is fucking disgusting.
Sometimes disgusting is appreciated just on the real level factor. Kyle, thanks so much for playing and being a part of the Push Road Questions of the day, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Elliot, you're a dick.
Push road question of the day.
That's right. That's how we segue out of that. Oh my God. Don't be a dick. Fill your machine with diesel at the end of your shift. We keep talking about some heavy topics, but I do want to bring up one last one with respect to just having a great partner, a great marriage, great relationship in a snowcat. I know you touched on it earlier, but right now, if you were to give out advice on how you could make that jive as a snowcat operator and make that relationship work, what would you tell somebody who is either in the machine already and is in that situation, or is interested in a career in a snowcat and is in that situation too?
So being somebody who failed at that exact question, I went through a child custody battle, and not technically a divorce because we weren't legally married, but I was separated and everything. I do not have personal good advice on how to make it successful. I do have some secondhand knowledge that, when Elliot's not being a dick, actually passed down to me. And I believe he told me it was, I could be wrong, so I'm sorry if this isn't who it came from, but I think he told me Mike Bunnell actually gave him advice at one point. And what I was told through Elliot was that no matter how involved you get or how many days in a row you're working, you need to set aside a portion of your day where if you need to park your machine, turn the engine off, and call your significant other and dedicate, 20, 30 minutes, maybe even an hour long conversation just to talk to that person and make sure that no matter how busy you are, they know that you're thinking about them.
Kyle, what do you think the future of the snow industry looks like? It could be a time frame that you're referencing 20 years down the road. It could be with respect to equipment or just a broad industry subject. But what do you think the future looks like?
Um, I'm not really certain what the future looks like for the ski industry. It's a scary time right now that we're all going through with, I recently heard about how bad Tahoe got hit and with fires and what happens there. What if some ski resorts don't reopen? I don't know. And then pivoting towards, the train park industry and how, some corporations are letting their parks programs die. I don't really know what the future holds. All I can say is that I hope it's positive and that whatever does happen, it winds up being for the better, because no matter how much longer operate Snowcats, I will still have a passion and love for it, and I hope nothing but the best for the ski industry. And I hope that they get through COVID and fires and everything. I hope they come out on top, and I hope some of these challenges in terms of wages get addressed, and I hope that it just maintains a really fun environment that people enjoy being a part of.
All the jobs that we've discussed that you've done, including the tractor trailer jobs and going here and there and doing, being a dad is a big piece of who you are. And not only working in the snow industry as an operator, but, while you're attempting to provide the best life for your kid. I mean, that's got to be stressful too. I don't know where you want to go with expanding on the answer, but I'd be curious to know, what's it like working in the snow industry as an operator, just trying to be an awesome dad and provide for your kid?
Uh, that's hard.
It's a fucking heavy question. I know. Sorry.
It's really difficult. Mainly because whenever you get involved, or at least for me personally, whenever I get it involved on like say big projects or larger builds or something, it pulls you out of it. It pulls you out of the dad position, and it pulls you straight into full-blown work mode. And I actually appreciate when every time I get the opportunity to work 2 weeks straight or even a month straight, I really appreciate that, because it helps me out financially. But then at the same time, it's really hard to be a dad when you're in a snowcat for 12 plus hours and you're doing it 7 days a week for weeks on end. It's I've in many ways I've failed, and I still fail. I completely ruined a relationship with the mother of my child over operating snowcats and doing excessive amounts of shifts. I'm doing the whole single dad thing now because of it, and it's really, really hard to be a good dad and to be a good partner to a woman when you are a terrain park cat operator.
Yeah, that's a real reality. So I've got one last special guest question for you, and it's from Derek Reisbeck. I will play it for you now. Here we go.
What's up, Parker and the Blade Dive? Been a fan of the show for a while. Really enjoy what you've got going on here. More importantly, what's up, Kyle Markman? Hope you've been doing good, buddy. Happy to be part of your episode. Would like to maybe hear you talk about some of the advantages of leaving a big mountain with an established park program to go to a smaller hill with a park program that is, in need of a little TLC. I feel like you hear about the opposite quite a bit. Not too much about people doing that transition. Yeah, it'd be cool. Really enjoyed working with you over the last few years at Eldora and what we've accomplished there. Parker, thanks again for letting me be part of the episode. And Kyle, really look forward to pushing snow again here with you soon, man. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.
So that's a cool question. And it's an interesting scenario, leaving a very well-known terrain park program and moving to a ski resort that most people haven't even heard of before. And I am actually kind of more proud of that experience than joining an established park crew and continuing to make it cool. It's kind of rewarding because it's hard. It is not easy going to a small resort. People like Kenny Sokolowski and many other names that I can't drop. And, Derek as well has been a huge role at Eldora, and the effort that Derek put in from a rail standpoint last season is amazing. Especially too with me dropping down to a part-time role last year. Derek's the man, and working at a small ski resort's not easy, and building a park program is not easy either.
No, neither one of those are easy. Rolling it back here really quick and revisiting Super Park 18, I remember a story you and I talked about just offline before we jumped on the podcast about, the event's over, we're wrapping things up and stuff needs to be knocked down. And I think it was Chris Ingham that was headed up to, or was assigned to go and eventually knock down the takeoff up there for the signature Matt Malilly step up. What went down there? I want to know, because I remember Eric being pissed. Like, Eric was definitely furious. I'm just standing over there in the corner like, oh my God, he's okay. He'll be okay. But we have this feature. We focused on videoing the feature at the bottom, the rail plaza, and he was furious that the jump got knocked down. What's your side of that story?
Oh man, well, this was actually kind of funny. So yeah, we up at Mount Hood Meadows, they wanted us to deconstruct our features after the event, and we went up there and we got a jump start on it, and smashed out all the Keystone features at that time. The big step down, that kind of crazy skinny mini jump that I credit mainly to Tony Wharton for building that one, because that was his baby for the most part. But either way, we deconstructed our Keystone stuff, and I run into Chris Ingham, and Chris and I were chatting, and he's like, oh, you guys are already done? And I'm like, yeah, we're already done. And I don't have a ride home yet, because we were sharing a vehicle to get to him from the resort back down to government camp. And I would just kind of threw out there, I was like, I don't really have anything to do, man. Can I help you? And Ingham was like, fuck yeah, I would be stoked if you helped me. And that made me pumped anyways, because Chris Ingham's the man. And he set me up to go deconstruct as much as I could get to. And I smashed out that that really rad step up jump that Malili and Ingham and all those boys on that crew put together. And I had a great time smashing it out. No idea that by doing that, I was basically just absurdly upsetting Eric Rosenwald. And Eric comes up there and he sees what I did to the feature, and he was just fucking losing it. And I'm sorry, Eric, I did not mean to piss you off, but in hindsight, looking back, that was a pretty fucking hilarious situation. And yeah, he was mad at me.
Oh, Eric Rosenwald. Love that dude. He needs to get on the podcast and tell us his story for sure. Come on, Eric. If anything else, we can talk about what you felt when that was. I remember vividly, there were a lot of emotions that were flying around, and we ended up just filming the plaza at the bottom, and that was it. And then we drove back to Bend and had a sushi dinner, and life was good. Other than that, that was the takeaway. Other than welding in the rain, I do remember welding in the rain. That was definitely a trip. That was fun. But yeah, that was, I remember that. You reminded me of that story, and I was like, oh my God. I remember he was furious about, he was so fucking mad.
Dude, there was so much that happened at Super Park 18. Super Park 18 was fucking wild. I mean, Tim Hayes' Snowcat caught on fire.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember that. And then the what was the car that the convertible like wouldn't even make it up the hill on the snowy day.
Yep. Oh man,
Joe told that story. Yeah, there was that one.
Dude, working on at Mount Hood is that's an experience that everybody should try to get their hands on if they really value operating snowcats. It's kind of a once in a lifetime experience, and if you get the opportunity, go.
Yeah, definitely do it. Go for it. Check it out. It's worth it for sure. Well, Kyle, is there anybody that you want to thank in particular? Shout outs, name drops, hollers, whatever.
I guess in general, I'd like to just thank all the friends that I've made. I can't really name drop due to the fact that I've been fortunate enough to make a lot of friends over the years, and I value my friendships strongly, and I'd like to thank all of them. But in particular, I do want to give a shout out to Pat Bridges and Snowboarder Magazine, because if it wasn't for me having access to Snowboarder Magazine as a kid growing up on the beach and looking into Cutter's Cup, I don't know if I actually would have become a cat operator. So thank you to all my friends, and thank you, Snowboarder Magazine.
Well, Kyle, I just want to take a minute again and just say thanks so much for taking time out of your day to coordinate with me and make this happen, because it's not easy, as you have experienced. It's definitely a time suck, and it's a commitment, and it's very much appreciated. I'm grateful for the time, and I know everybody else was. So thank you so much for being a part of the Blade Dive, man.
Yeah, thank you, Parker. I appreciate it.
Okay, huge thank you to Kyle Markman for being this week's Blade Dive episode. There were definitely a lot of heavy topics that were discussed, and I think the one that really stuck out to me was being a parent and being a snowcat operator, and that is a balance. I don't even know if balance is the right word. I think it's really just trying to figure out how you can dance with the chaos of making all that happen. And it doesn't matter if you've got 5 minutes or you've got an hour, whatever time you got, just make sure that you are taking the time to talk to the ones that you love. On the suicide, anxiety, and depression note, that's another thing as well. Let's check on our friends. Let's check on our people. Let's make sure they're okay. sometimes, as I stated earlier, the best thing you can do is just say, hey, make sure somebody's all right. Just check in, see how their day is going. Okay, you know the deal. Don't be a dick. Please fill up your machine with diesel at the end of your shift.